Welcome to the Bonus Time Monster Truck Podcast, presented by MonsterTalk, your number one source for the latest news, results, and more from the monster truck world. Meet the hosts for tonight's episode, Ewan Ford and Jackson Morris. So strap yourselves in, because bonus time starts now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Bonus Time Monster Truck Podcast presented by MonsterTalk. I am your host, Jackson Morris. Guys, my voice, for some reason, kind of still sucks. I got better, but I think because of screaming at Gold Coast, my voice is kind of dead again. But at least now you can actually understand me. Once again, I am joined by Ewan Ford. He is back. Wayne and Reagan are currently in Hawaii having the time of their lives, so they couldn't join us for this episode. But, Ewan, we have a lot of news to cover. I wasn't able to get a bonus time podcast out before the Gold Coast shows. However, we did record a very special episode of Bonus Time that I think you guys are really going to enjoy. That is nothing like what we've done on this podcast so far. So I'm going to get that out to you guys whenever I can. It's going to be awesome. But today, Ewan, we're just talking about results. We're recapping all the big things that have happened over the last couple of weeks. And there is some great stuff to talk about. And we're actually going to start off with a show that you were at, Ewan. This is Arlington, Texas for Monster Jam. This was last Saturday. So here are the results. Adam Anderson and Gravedigger would take the racing win. El Toro Loco with Amano Castro would take the skills win. And Ryan Anderson in Son of a Digger would take the freestyle and overall. Now this time, unlike all the others, we're actually going to go show by show rather than talk about all the shows and then come back to it. But there's a good reason for this, because there are a lot of things to talk about for a majority of these shows. First off, some important notes and points of discussion that we can talk about. First off, Cole Vernard replaced Jamie Garner. I'm not really sure why. I don't know if he had a show on during that time. But, you know, it was good to see Cole Vernard once again burn it down. The track was slightly different. So once again, we got the all-new paperclip style with the bowl in the middle. It's actually, I don't know how to describe it. It's a little bit elongated and less like round. It's more like an oval as opposed to like a circle or like a sphere or something. The step up was also modified a little bit. So it's kind of got like a little bit of like a lip on the, I would call the send side. But for the most part, it's exactly the same. The rest of the track was different. One of the other things that was really cool was intros. They had pyro, and that was really interesting. I really liked the new intros that they did for Arlington. It's a shame that they really didn't continue that over into Houston, as we'll talk about later. And of course, the thing that everyone was talking about was Tim Jones. I'm kidding. No one was really good. Well, Tim Jones did good. Tim Jones did good. But Ryan Anderson in Son of a Digger had the most amazing save I think I have ever seen. What in the hell was he cooking? That was the most insane thing I think I've ever seen. I've talked enough, Ewan, and I figured that you should tell all these great people that are watching this podcast or listening to it about you getting to see this show, because you were telling me that this is one of the best that you've ever seen. And I want to know your thoughts about Arlington and what you got to see and what you thought about all the new changes and everything that happened.
Well, I'm sorry if you could hear my dog in the background. Something's going on, but
Oh no.
yeah, but also my cat's also here now. Hey. But yeah, Arlington was actually one of the best shows at Arlington in a while. Like, I think since 2017. It's probably been the best show since 2017 when Lindsay did the epicness at that show. But yeah,
Yeah.
I do have to disagree with you. I don't think Tim Jones did that good. I don't know. Like, every single time Tim Jones steps in a Monster Jam track, he just tends to not do that much. Oh my god. What? Okay. they're just going off. I guess she's still going off, but it's like Tim Jones just decides to. I'm sorry, but I have to call the word mid.
Oh no.
Decides to be mid during the whole time. The best thing he did was flip into the dumpster during that show. But anyway, the best thing was Ryan's awesome save. I actually audibly got up for that one, but should it have won? That's also the biggest thing. Should it
Yes.
have won? No. 3 simple hits, all it took to win. But it was just like Zach should have won. Garner should have won the show, but I mean, whatever. Fan judging would be fan judging, and he did an amazing save. I understand why he won.
Yeah. Well, there are a lot of great moments like outside of that. I mean, Chris Kohler had an amazing bicycle, and
Oh
then he
yeah,
had an
just
amazing save as well. I
yeah,
mean, that was just, I mean, that show, as you were saying, I think it's one of the best. I would say almost go as far to say the best October Arlington show that we've seen in quite some time. And I don't know how many October Arlington shows they've done over the years, but it's definitely one of the best.
yeah.
Just because of all the action and all the stuff on the track. I wanted to ask you, what did you think of the intros with all the pyro and all that stuff? Because I thought that was really awesome.
Yeah, it was really. It actually surprised me because when they did intros, they fired off the pyro. I'm just like, oh, they have pyro, cool. It's just like like little things like that get me a little pop out of me. But it was just really cool. Every time somebody got the lead, they would do the pyro.
Oh,
Like
really?
yeah, like every single time they just do the pyro. Every single time somebody like they announced the winner, they do pyro.
I haven't even seen that. That's really cool.
Yeah, so it was really cool to see the pyro, even if it was like at like the corner of the stadium
Yeah,
near the end. But it was really cool anyway. But
you're right. It's all about the simple things, Monster Jam, obviously they have new fans that are getting into it that appreciate whatever they do, but for us diehard fans, it's the simple things like pyro and new like exciting tracks where, and I'll talk about this for Houston for reasons that I'm sure most of you already know already, that it seems to be that they're really stepping up their game. They're really providing something new and different when I would, over the last couple of years, they've provided something new, but it hasn't been that like different and it hasn't been that like, different or comparable to the previous year. Now it's like you can't compare tracks from say this year to what we are going to get next year and what we've gotten this October because they are completely different. They're a completely different beast. And I think the new season is shaping up to be amazing. I wanted to also bring back the star drivers. We haven't done this in a while, and I think with all the new shows that this would be interesting to talk about. My star driver for Arlington is Armando Castro. He has been really impressive in these stadium shows with his two-wheel game. He's won every single two-wheel skills in stadiums for these last two shows, and we'll see about Houston. But for Arlington and Glendale, he's 2 for 2. That was really impressive. That's why he got my pick. Ewan, I'll hand it over to you. Who was your star pick? Star driver, sorry.
for me, it was a Zach Garner in Wildside. He was just really consistent throughout the whole show, even if he got underscored a little bit. I believe he went out round one in racing, but in skills he got underscored a fair bit because bicycles don't get scored good anymore. It's just a known fact for me at this point. But yeah, he got underscored in skills. He should have been at least a 9 because he rode out a decent bicycle and a great stoppie. And he should have gotten freestyle. He had the best freestyle of the night. They actually let him off with the pop tire, and he just sent it with the pop tire, and it was amazing. She should have won. He was just a really good driver throughout the whole show.
Absolutely. And I just wanted to also point out that I don't know if we said already, but I want to definitely bring it up. You also think this, especially because of the fact that Ryan Anderson's run was only 3 hits. It was three
Yeah.
hits and the crazy save at the end. So after he did the save, he was shut off, and that was it. So Zach Garner actually had a fulfilling run, hence why you think that. I just wanted to provide that context. I don't know if we had before. We're going to move on to a show that I went to. This was in Sydney, Australia. Man, this was a great show. Charlie Porkin and Megalodon would take racing skills in the overall, while Blake Granger and Max D would take the freestyle win. There are some important notes here, not as many. For the first time in, I would say, quite a while, or ever, I think, we got to see blue track paint. Now, I know that people now are like, oh, they changed the color, big deal. But for someone like me, it was different. It was cool to see. I'm not going to make it out like a huge deal. But blue track paint was pretty surprising and awesome to see. The other thing that was a bit more surprising was, remember in Melbourne, we were talking about the track. It was basically stadium tour blue, but some of the jumps were kind of whittled down a little bit. That was not the case for Sydney. They literally took all of the jumps and they made them stadium tour blue like if you took the actual track from Stadium Championship Series blue and put it in Australia, that was exactly what it was like. And that provided some amazing action out on track. Chelsea Van Cleve had an amazing freestyle run, and we'll talk about her later for good reason. Blake Granger had an amazing run, who won. Miranda Kozad. Charlie Porkin had a great run. There was just an amazing show, and it was so good to see a different track style than the usual St. Louis style. I thought it was fantastic. And yeah, it was just an amazing night of action. Before we get to our star driver, Ewan, did you actually get to see this show? I don't know if you watched it. What was your thoughts about Sydney?
I saw brief highlights of it. I have to say, it looked pretty good. I saw Bernard's another epic Bernard somersault that this
Yes.
time it didn't land it this time, but it was just like I've never seen like they're going hard. Like actually,
Yeah.
like they're going. And it's really cool to see, like, I don't know, it's like you could tell I haven't watched Sydney.
Oh
I don't
man.
say. But yeah, it just see the highlights I saw were great. And yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, I think for me, my star driver is pretty obvious. It's Charlie Porkin, the man who, out of the 5 overalls, spoiler alert for Gold Coast, out of the 5 overalls you could get in Australia, Charlie got 3 of them. What a guy. I mean, that was Charlie Porkin is a different animal down here. I mean, he was so impressive and so exciting behind the wheel. He is just an amazing driver, and he really knows how to throw it down. So, Ewan, who is your star driver for Sydney?
I'm gonna have to pick Blake Granger. He won a freestyle, I believe,
Yes.
if I remember correctly. Yes, he did. And I think it's just that the international tour, it's really been Blake and Charlie all the way, except maybe coming up for Gold Coast. Who knows? Oh, foreshadowing. But it's like, it's been Blake and Charlie, and it's just Blake's just been really good in Australia.
Yeah. And he finished second in skills. From memory, I thought that he was actually going to win skills. I don't really remember. Um, and he was really impressive there. And yeah, those two were amazing. But I have to give credit to all the drivers because they really threw it down in Sydney. You know, they took Melbourne to another step, and it was really exciting. Also, great as well to see a Sydney show that wasn't raining. I was saying, I think I've said before many times on the podcast, every time I've been to Sydney, it's rained. The first time I went, it rained. Last year, it was a mud fest. This year, no rain whatsoever. It was hot. And shout out to all the bugs and flies that were swarming everyone in the pit party and the first hour of the show. That was not fun, but everything else about that show was great. We also have results here for the All-Star Monster Truck Tour. That was in Rolla, Missouri. Show 1 would see Jack Brown and Maximus win Best Trick, Racing, and the overall event championship, and Blockhead with Darren Basil would win Freestyle. Show 2 would see Tim Jones and Tailgater win Best Trick, Freestyle, and the overall, and Maximus with Jack Brown would win Racing. For me, no questions asked, my star driver is Jack Brown. And Ewan, are you thinking what I'm thinking? Are we thinking the same person for the star driver?
I think we are.
Who's your star driver?
I think it's Jack Brown and Maximus.
Whoa!
Whoa!
That was crazy. But he was really impressive, wasn't he? Like he the whole year has been really impressive, an amazing driver.
Yeah, he's really stepped out of his shell the past. Ever since he got with DCT, he's been like really improving.
Yeah.
Like him and FDI Torque compared to him now is like a total difference. You can see like how confident he is behind the wheel now.
And especially with the backflips that he's done, especially last weekend or this past weekend in Wheatland, which we'll get to in a sec. I mean, yeah, he's been really impressive. An absolute machine behind the wheel. I love watching Jack Brown and I love Maximus, so it's a great combo to have those two together. Now, we're moving back to Monster Jam for Houston, Texas. Ryan Anderson in Son of Bodega would take Racing. El Toro Loco, Armando Castro would take the 2 skills win, which does mean that every single October, well, I'm going to class Glendale as October, but it's okay. Every single Stadium October show, Armando Castro has won 2 skills. That is really impressive. And Freestyle would go to Shaker with Ryan Disharoon, a very surprising winner, but from what I saw, very well deserved. Adam Anderson also took home the overall event championship. Now, the huge talking point about this event was the track. I did say that they were going to try out another track. I wasn't entirely sure when. I wasn't entirely sure if they were going to, but from what I was hearing, they were going to try something out, and that is exactly what we got. Now, this new style does not have a name yet. I'm actually going to give it a name, and you guys can tell me if it sounds stupid or if it sounds good. I'm going to call it the crossover style, mainly because of how the style works. So I'm going to put a video up on screen, but I'm going to try and describe it for those that are just listening. You start on the pod, which is kind of down near the backflip end of the track. So like the Stadium to a Blue track, but they both start the same way. They then drive outwards and they swing around this berm, which is where the finish line bit is. They then drift around and then come back down to kind of where they started. They turn around these jammer jumps, full throttle down the straightaway, make a turn, and they hit the backside of the berm. It has the launch bit and then also a landing ramp. So if you've seen the new October paperclip tracks, they also have a landing ramp. So they've added that, which is very cool. And this track style is just really exciting. It's really fun, and it provides a lot of exciting action that we haven't previously seen. And freestyle was amazing. I mean, we had Armando Castro have an amazing moment. Adam Anderson's freestyle. There were some amazing skills moves that we were talking about. I mean, yeah, this track is really nice. I love this new track. It's amazing. And something that I was going to say as well, that I kind of talked about before is, and you guys can disagree with me if you want, but they've really stepped up their game with tracks now. It feels like now that there's a lot of risk and reward sort of features with these tracks, in the sense that every jump kind of has a purpose, and there are intimidating looking jumps that are out on the track, especially with the paperclip thing. Maybe not necessarily this style, but there's a lot of ramps that provide new opportunities for drivers to try new things or do cool stuff. Uh, I think that if this is what Monster Jam is forming into, then I'm really excited for the future for what they have, because this new track style is great. So, Ewan, I've talked way enough now. I'm going to hand it over to you. Your thoughts about Houston and everything that we got to see.
I mean, as you call, you named it yourself, but I prefer to call it Houston style because I don't think there's been a Houston style yet. But yeah, that did you actually see they tried out two different styles of the racing at the
Yes,
show?
yeah, they did. That was really cool that they did. So they did one where I'll put it up on screen again. They started where they originally finished, obviously before the crossover. They started there and then they did the rest of the style. That was really cool. Sorry, I'll let you
Yeah,
get back
but
to.
it was just a really interesting show, though there's still some controversy from us diehard fans about freestyle winner Shaker, as some people like to call it, the first backflip syndrome. He won. He did the first backflip, but some people say he didn't deserve it. Some people say Adam should have won. I don't know. I haven't really watched it Houston yet, but I'll see about that myself. But yeah, it was just Houston, a really interesting track. A lot of fatalities on the track though. Like this
Oh
track
yeah.
got some people. Like Jamie. I think it got Zach. It got
Yes, it
Jamie,
did.
and it got
Because
somebody else.
we were talking about it was a one hit wonder for Zach.
Yeah.
Straight out of the gate, massive air, boom, tire just like disintegrated.
Yeah, and it's just new tracks equal new possibilities for crashes, you know?
Oh yeah.
Uh,
Or even just new stuff to be tried out in general. We
yeah.
were talking about I forget who it was. Was it Zach or was it Ryan? One of those two, they used the berm as like a way to leverage their bicycle
Uh,
or something. I
at
forget who it was.
at
Or it might have been Chris.
at
Was
Arlington
it?
it was Chris. I know
Yeah.
at Houston he tried to get it off the pod. It's like the
Yeah.
middle, and but like
Yeah.
it didn't really do it that much. But
Actually, speaking of Adam, I'm sure you've seen this, but have you seen the one where he did I think it was Foxborough 2017, where he
oh
went
yeah,
in reverse and he
he
did
did
that? It was
that.
the exact same
Yeah, it
thing.
was great.
That was awesome.
Also,
That was a great
did you
moment.
see the practice of Colt dying in
Yes!
practice?
And actually, that's a good thing to bring up because before they made it like
Yeah.
Glendale and Arlington where it was rounded, whereas the other one it was like I wouldn't say flat, but it was a lot flatter. There wasn't really any roundness, obviously because they had the drivers like messing up and all of that. These October shows have been mainly in freestyle. I don't know if I'd say skills, and I guess Houston was exciting for racing, but man, these new tracks and they're providing us some great stuff. And I'm sure that it'll start out rough because drivers aren't used to these tracks, but I'm sure the more we see them next year, the more that we are going to see drivers exploit these jumps and new moves to wow fans like maybe we've never seen. Maybe that's a little too much to promise, but um, they're definitely going to provide some great action. So, star driver, I'm going to give it to Adam Anderson. After an amazing night, his skills, his freestyle, I mean, oh my goodness. Adam Anderson, typical ragged edge freestyle. That to me is already a perfect candidate for my star driver. Ewan, fire away. Who is your star driver?
My star driver, I know this is a little bit like, huh, but I picked Jamie Sullivan in Monster Mutt Dalmatian
Ooh.
until freestyle. She got to the semis. She lost in the semis, and she got, I believe, top four in skills, if I'm not mistaken.
I
And
think so, yeah.
if she did good in freestyle, I believe she probably could have like been more up there in overall, or maybe even taken overall if she wanted
Yeah.
to.
Well, we've been told, and this is especially for Gold Coast from when we get to that, because that is next, I believe, that there are so many instances where drivers have started the year off as what we'll call it rookies, and we've gone like, oh, like, what are they doing? And then as the year has progressed, they have gotten so good where it's like you can't even compare them. It's like they're almost a completely different driver, and you want to root for them. Like, you want to root for them even more because you've seen their progression. You've seen that they've gotten better. You've seen that they've improved and that they're doing new things that no one else has done. Or I should say no one else has done, but you know what I mean? Like, they're improving their own skill set, and
Yeah,
they're making them more exciting to watch.
like Jamie's at that skill level. Like at Arlington, she almost beat Adam in racing.
Yeah.
Like, and she knows how to moonwalk really good too now. And it's like she's just getting better in these stadiums. You
Oh,
know?
yeah. 100%. And I mean, speaking of rookies, this international tour has been so amazing to watch. And Gold Coast, maybe not show one, was a bit of proof of that. So let's talk about Gold Coast right now. Show one would see Brandon Arthur in Ironman win racing. Blake Granger and Max D would win tour skills, and the overall and freestyle would go to Miranda Kozad and Thor. Show 2 would see Brandon Arthur once again win racing and Ironman. Blake Granger took the tour skills win again, and Matt Cody in Gravedigger would win freestyle and take the overall as well, the final overall of the Australian tour. So a couple of things to note here. For starters, a big congrats to Brandon Arthur for taking not just one, but 2 racing wins here in Australia, both in Gold Coast. Very interesting to see as well. That is, I believe, his 3rd racing win in Ironman
Yes.
for an international. Yeah, because he won in London. I'm pretty sure I'm right
Yep.
on that. And speaking of first backflip syndrome, that is literally, I'm pretty sure, the only reason why Miranda won freestyle at show 1, because she was the first to pull off the backflip. But in fairness as well, I don't really remember much from show 1 at all, mainly because it was stupidly hot where we were sitting. We were
Yeah.
in the sun all day. My dad's phone overheated because of the heat. It was pretty funny. And my camera and Wayne's as well were like 1,000 degrees. And the glare, actually, this is something really interesting that I'm not sure many people would watch. If you've seen my show footage and if you thought that racing was kind of awkward and weird, the glare was so bad that drivers could not actually see the starting lights, the lights where they take off. Like, it was really bad. And I know it was bad because there was a race between Bernard and I think it was Miranda, and Bernard literally didn't go because he couldn't see the damn lights. And I couldn't even see what I was filming through my camera half the
Yeah.
time because the glare and the dust. That was another thing. The dust was really bad. They had to water
Yeah.
it like crazy.
I actually saw that. Like, it was really dusty for some reason because
Yes.
it looked like they used sand almost for the track.
I think it was a mixture, but it definitely didn't help that the heat was there too, because they would have watered it to get it to the mixture or whatever that it needs to be, but the pure heat was drying all of that up. So when drivers were coming around, it was just dust. It was like crazy. And all of us in our party, like Wayne, me, my dad, and Reagan, we're all like, they should have just used flagmen. They would have been able to see, like, for the racing, they would have been able to see it so much easier. But I mean, it is what it is. It happened. There also are some other things I wanted to talk about. Show 2 arguably was one of the best shows on the whole tour. And I'm going to say that mainly for freestyle because racing was solid. Skills was pretty all right from memory. But freestyle, I'm not kidding. There was not a single bad freestyle run. Yes, some freestyles didn't have like a crazy moment, but every driver laid down an exciting run to where it wasn't boring, there wasn't slow. Every driver was sending it and they didn't care. They're like, we've been here for 3 weeks. We've done up until now 4 shows. Let's just kill these trucks. And that's what many drivers did. Charlie Porkin to end his freestyle run was one of the craziest things I've ever seen. That was amazing. Blake Granger had an amazing run. I mean, oh my God, the throttle rhythm I'll put a video up on screen and I'll put some audio up as well. Coming around the turn, he was just on and off and on and off and on and off. It was like a Dennis Anderson run. So was Matt Cody. I mean, that show was amazing. To cap off such an amazing tour and an amazing 3 weeks with some of the greatest people I've ever met and other amazing stuff. That was incredible. It was such a great show. And to be honest, I love this new venue, Seabus Super Stadium. It's such an open sort of feel. It's like Amy Park. If you've ever been there, which probably isn't many of you, but it's kind of open. It's very open and it's inviting. Seabus Stadium is even more inviting. It's such a different feel compared to anywhere else that I've been, and I absolutely love it, and I can't wait for them to do more Gold Coast shows. I should also say Gold Coast was the St. Louis track style. I'm trying to go through everything that happened. But yeah, that's most of it. And I'm going to save one of the things that is on there for my star driver for good reason. So, Ewan, I'm done talking now. What were your thoughts about Gold Coast?
It just looked like show 1 was obviously plagued by heat.
Heat
Just
and glare. Heat
heat,
and glare.
heat, dust, and glare. And you could tell by show 2. I saw the Iron Man freestyle for show 2, and it just looked like a layer of dust was on Iron Man the whole
Yeah.
time. It was like, but also like, it wasn't like your normal St. Louis. Like the ramps were steep.
Oh,
Like
yes.
they were real steep.
That's a good thing to bring up. The two-wheel skill, I'll let you continue your thing in a sec, but that's a good thing to bring up. The two-wheel skills pods, oh my goodness, they're the most steepest ramps I have ever seen in my life. Like, oh my goodness. I got there and I was like, these ramps are steep, and then they hit them and I was like, oh man. But yeah, that was great. Did you have anything else to add? I
Oh yeah,
kind of cut
just
you off.
a lot of amazing moments from show 2. Like just solid action throughout Gold Coast for their like first show ever there. It was amazing. I should
Yeah,
say first shows there, I should say, but it was just these shows have been great. Like for
yeah.
international standards, they've been probably the best international shows we've had.
Yeah. I mean, these have been fantastic. Like, every driver has improved even slightly. And this is a good segue into the star driver. And I feel like I'm going to catch some flack for this. But I won't lie to you guys. I have never been more confident in what I'm about to say about someone's career, like, ever, if you know what I mean. I am fully confident. I'm fully sticking by this, what I'm about to say. My star driver for the Gold Coast is Chelsea Van Cleve. Now, before I get people moaning and groaning in the comments, let me explain to you why. When she started off, and by the way, everyone that got to see these shows, especially our party, Reagan, Wayne, my dad, me, we all think this. We all agree in this. And it's best to explain when you see her freestyle performances when she started the year versus now, you could tell that I don't know if she was very comfortable
The grip flip
with.
machine.
I mean, yeah, she wasn't very comfortable with the truck. She was getting used to it. I think maybe a lack of like confidence or with what she was doing and all of that. And you could tell. And ever since Melbourne Show 2, she has stepped up her game. And I'm going to put some examples up on screen while I say this. Show 1, she flipped over twice, and people would have put that down to what she has done before. Show 2, freestyle, she really made, like, I was like, okay, like, this is a good run. She was cut off a little early because she popped a tire. Sydney, oh my God, she was amazing. She was, I believe she was the first truck out. She had an amazing run, throttle rhythm, great moments, no fear, huge air, risky hits. Was fantastic. And then Gold Coast, the same thing, but better. Like I'm dead serious when I say this, that because I believe she doesn't have any more shows scheduled as of currently, but I'm dead serious when I say it's only a matter of time before she takes a freestyle win somewhere. I am that confident in what I'm saying because when you see what she's been doing now versus what she started doing then, she is amazing. She is an incredible driver now that lays down amazing freestyles. And that to me is why she is my star driver for Gold Coast. So there's my thing. I'm sticking with it, but I want to know, who did you pick for your star driver?
Just for how consistent he was in racing at Gold Coast, I chose Brandon Arthur in Iron Man because
Yes.
he was on a rail at Gold Coast for some reason. And like these shows prove that it's not just the Blake and Charlie show for international.
Yeah.
Like Brandon got a win, I believe. Brandon got a win also, and Matt Cody also got a win. It was like just solid shows for
Yeah.
Gold Coast, and Brandon Arthur was just solid throughout. Always a good racer is Brandon Arthur.
Well, I want to add on to that as well because we have one more show to talk about, and that is the end of the podcast, unfortunately. But one thing to strengthen your case as well, I believe Melbourne Show 1 and maybe Sydney. Sydney, I think he made it to the semifinals but lost. But Melbourne Show 1, he made it to the finals against Charlie, and he was looking pretty good to win that as well. But also, he has improved. He did, I believe, people were saying he did his first, from what Reagan and Wayne would tell me, he did his first moonwalk at Sydney. And that was really good as well. And his freestyles, as we were saying, he's really improved as well. So, yeah. So, I just wanted to say that, man, the Australian tour, I'm so sad it's over, but those drivers are fantastic. They have really, all of them have really improved into the ones that have, that we all think were the star drivers and the ones that were going to win everything. They were all amazing and fantastic as well. We have one final show, as we talked about, MAP Motorsports in Wheatland, Missouri. Dalton Widener in Jurassic Attack would win two-wheel skills. Devin Winfield in Kamikaze would win racing. And Tim Jones in Tailgater would win freestyle. And Wheatland always gets great shows from what I see. They have the backflip. They have a cool racing style. And yeah, this year was no exception. There were backflips from 4 trucks. Yes, sorry, I had to double check. It was Blockhead, which was, I believe, Darren Basil's first backflip from what I was reading. Maximus, so Jack Brown did another backflip. Overboard with Jamie Garner. And of course, the thing that everyone is talking about, Tim goddamn Jones in Tailgater. What the hell was he cooking? That was one of the craziest things I have ever seen. And I'll put it up on screen now. Tim, what the hell was he on? That was amazing. One of the craziest things I've ever seen. Literally a week after Ryan Anderson does the most insane save of all time, Tim Jones does the most insane thing I think I've ever seen at an independent show. I mean, Tim Jones, I think he's my star driver for this show. Wheatland, come on. How can you not pick Tim Jones after that? But Ewan, I'll let you talk about the show in general, and then you can also give your star driver as well. But man, Tim Jones, what a guy.
Wheatland, always amazing shows. It's just like Wheatland's always great. The track is always so creative as well. They always put up these really great obstacles, and they always have a star-studded lineup of independent trucks. And maybe I'm just a bit salty from Arlington that Tim Jones didn't do anything. So I picked Dalton Widener in Jurassic Attack as my star driver just for his consistency. I believe
Oh
he,
yeah.
he, he won skills. He made the finals, I think. Yeah, he made it to
Yes.
finals, and he laid down a solid freestyle run, though I haven't seen it, so I could be lying.
Oh man, this is just a common thing at this point where we're
I'm
like,
spreading
guys, this was an amazing show, and then we're like, okay, we haven't seen it.
I'm spreading misinformation.
Oh man. No, but like, yeah, Dalton Widener is just an amazing driver, and yeah, he's a good star driver to pick. But for me, I'm a little biased. Tim Jones, what a guy! What a move! And I think as well, it's important to say that I think he's so used to the independent scene, and we've got to remember as well that Monster Jam compared to the independent, there's a lot of Monster Jam. I think not Ryan, Rick Dishroom was talking about because he was defending him after New Orleans, whereas you all probably remember he didn't do terribly good. And I kind of agreed with Rick. He was saying that Monster Jam's a different animal to the independent stuff because all of the jumps are so much bigger, and the truck's handled differently. And I mean, Tim Jones, he's got coilovers, right? Or am I on something?
I saw it was like it's like a combination. I think it's like a
Yeah.
coil and another
So
different type of shock.
yeah.
I think.
So I would assume that when most drivers in Monster Jam are running the standard, industry standard shocks, and all of like most of them aren't running older chassis. Well, I don't think his chassis is very old, but you know what I
It's
mean.
not, but
Most of the trucks are like they're as industry standard or not industry standard. The point that I'm trying to make is that most of the indie trucks that drive on those, they're used to it. They've driven on it for a while. And Tim Jones is still very new. He's getting used to this, and his truck is quite different and quite quirky. So mix that with a quirky track and not that much experience on a Monster Jam setting, it's bound to
yeah.
not mix well, at least to start off with.
Also, I have to
Go for it.
quickly mention the most epic show of all time, Vancouver.
Yes.
Tyler won.
Okay.
That's it.
Yeah.
There we go. Now we can transition.
Yeah. Tyler Menninger win Vancouver. W. I should also say as well that before we end up, man, how are you holding that pose? My goodness. I should also say as well, before we close off today's episode, if you're wondering where all the news is, do not fret. There's going to be a news video, I 100% promise, at the end of the week that covers everything that we need to talk about. The only reason why that it's not in this is because I wanted to talk about all the shows and everything that we've been to. There's also going to be some amazing content coming soon, a vlog from the Australian stuff, the podcast that I mentioned that I did with Reagan and Wayne, live as well. That was great. And so much other amazing content that you guys are going to want to make sure to check out. So without further ado, that is the end of today's bonus time episode. Thank you all so much for watching, and we will see you with another exciting edition of the Bonus Time Monster Truck Podcast. Good night, everybody. We both did it. Yay.